You are listening to selfdiscoveryradio.com with an orchard of wisdom just ready for your picking, filled with illuminating, inspiring stories. Do check out the community and the discovery stores. We are here for you. Our next show is... Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Channeling Ascensions, and we are definitely channeling some ascension for you today. We've already had some wonderful internet problems up and down, and if I disappear from the screen, don't worry, my wonderful co-host Christina Hill will take over. I am Sarah Troy, and Christina and I, and along with her wonderful divine spirit that's going to come in and join us somewhere on the show, Athela, are your hosts for the show, and we have a wonderful guest today, Kare Long. We're teasing her. It's Kare Long, but it's Kare.
Like
we're making it exotic today.
I'm exotic today.
Exotic. We're going to go exotic today. And actually, we're going to go into social media today, and that's social media consciousness. Just because you can tweet something doesn't mean you should. And it's how much do you put out there? And because we have to remember everything that we do put out there, we're putting out there with a conscious intent. What is it that we're sending out there vibrationally? You know, what is received? How is it being received? Is it being received with love? Is it intended with love? And you know, there's the whole controversial thing right now of privacy and how much we put out there. And it's like, if you aren't willing to be yourself and put yourself out there, and you're still living in fear of, oh, I don't want to do that. Obviously, there's discernment of what you do. But how do you invite that conscious awakening, that conscious rising, that channeling of love through social media? Because it's very, very possible. We've seen the impact, the Me Too movement and many other things out there of how social media can propel something forward. But it's that consciousness about it, on how we do it, where we do it, when we do it, and how we react to the naysayers along the way as well, because those negative vibrations are going to come back. How do you deal with it? How do you keep that equilibrium and not start a little war on social media, which we see all too often, the Twitter wars, because we know who's the Twitter king out there. We are our tweets, we are our Facebook, we are our social media. This is who you are out there. This is what you're representing. Are you truly telling yourself, your being, your lovingness, your divineness out there when you are tweeting or sending out a message on the Instagram? So that consciousness is something that Kare is all about, because she runs a social media company, and so she knows all about this, exactly how the innings and the works and everything about it. So she's the perfect person for this topic today. And I'm sure, Kare, you've come across a great deal of, oh, you shouldn't have done that.
Oh, yes. I sometimes wonder, when I got into this business, I mean, the thing with social media, and I think we've talked about this before, is because it's a whole new level of communication for our species, really it is. It's new. It's only been around for the last 10, 15 years. You know, when we first started taking photos of our dinners and, you know, email and tweet. I mean, in my lifetime, I have had to learn how to send emails. I've had to learn how to interact online. So when I decided, I used to own a public relations company, and when I decided to switch over to specializing in social media and digital marketing, it's because I could see, I have the gift of vision, so I could actually see how social media was going to become one of the primary communication tools in our global communication efforts. And this is a pretty powerful thing to see. And in that, knowing that we're going to have a transition period, we're going to have to learn how to use this tool, and we're going to have to evolve. And it's like toddlers with picking up a hammer. There's potential for some pretty big damage with that, right? Because it's just smash, 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 smash. And that toddler has to grow up and learn how to use that hammer with accuracy. That toddler will eventually grow up and be someone who can hit a nail on the head once, and that nail will go driving down. So I always like to say, to avoid the shame factor, because there's a lot of people who make mistakes online, but I don't think anybody ever intends to make those mistakes, to overshare, to get into fights, to deal with cyberbullies, all those things that happen. And I think I in my own education and training with others, especially those in business, it's the process of learning and educating yourself on best practices for communication. And in that, always remembering that it is a human element. There's always a human being behind those words on the screen. It's too easy to forget that, because, you know, we're reaching across the world. We're going globally. We're connecting with people we never would have connected with before. We're sitting there typing like crazy. We've got that barrier in front of us of the screen, and we think it's okay. It's okay that I can just say this, or I can mouth off and I can just express all of my anger. And I do believe too, in the way I like to think of things, is there will be healing as a result of social media, because we will have to start to question ourselves and question how we are communicating far more than we ever would have had to before. So in fact, I think Christina and I were talking about, somebody just said it, about having to go through the crisis first, and then once you're through it, the learning that comes from that and what evolves past that is where all the beauty lies. So I've always seen social media that way. And yes, there is the cringe factor, especially when I have clients or people I see online just like, oh, how could you have said that? Especially if you run a business, or, what's going on. But again, it's more about educating. I know a lot, I spend every day in it, but that's not what everybody else does. So I have to, in my work, remember that patience, that compassion, teaching that toddler instead of freaking out because he's destroyed the whole house. Go, okay, that's great. Oh God. But let's try and figure out a better use, and let's focus our energy on that.
Well, Christina, I know it's not your favorite thing, social media, because you're riding in that wonderful spirit all the time, and of course social media is sometimes on a different vibration. But it is imperative that we do use this wonderful tool in order to even get that beautiful divine message out.
Yes, I think that electricity is the same way too. It's like we are using it. We can't exactly tell how it works. We don't have to know all the fundamentals of it. We use it, we enjoy it, we're appreciative of it, and we come away from it every day. This is what Athela's teachings are all about, really, is that we have these moments where we're engaged or we're interactive with the electronics. And then there's a time during the day, every day, where we need to really come back to ourselves, to nature, which is not with the electronics at all, to get away from that energy for a while, for a time, and be in the sun, and touch a piece of grass, be with our puppies, our kittens, touch another human being, and realize that there's this balance, right? So we're navigating a balance. And you're right, Karea, you said it so magically when you said, there is a human being behind all this. Yeah. Yes, there is. And so the mindfulness, even consciousness, as you're literally, like, look at your hands as you're typing, and you're feeling the consciousness flowing through the fingers, and it's coming from heart space. You can project that through the medium of the molecule. It's quite powerful, and you put all that power pack behind the electronics, and it's very fast. It's like super fast, light speed fast. So
you can't take it back either.
That's right. You can connect with people so super duper fast in a very conscious way. So I love our opening discussion here about how do we bring consciousness, that balance, into our interactions with these electronics, with the robots, and all the things that are coming into our new era, and that we are still in our humanity, that we're still connecting to ourselves and taking time every day to do that.
Yeah, I think the important thing is to remember is that it's so easy, as you said, Cara, to just go blah, 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 and send it, we've got to stop being reactionary people, and be interaction. And, you have to remember every time you press that button, send, no matter what it is, you're sending a piece of you out there. Is that what you really want to say? Is that how you really want to be represented? Would you have said that to that person eyeball to eyeball? Because there's a different carriage behind the keyboard, isn't it? And I think one of the things that we have to be careful of is stop and feel before you send.
One of my common questions with all of my clients, because there can be the negative people, the trolls, the nasty comments, the things you wish you could take back, but there's also the very fickle, not really much thought behind it, kind of flat-lined energy that is only for one goal, to get likes or engagement. That's a whole other disease in itself, I believe, online, where there is a lot of insecurity, and that comes through. I really like what you said, Christina, about the electricity, because again, I'll bring it back to the tools. The electricity is just the tool.
Mhm.
So it's not creating anything. It's not taking anything away. It doesn't have a personality. It's not evil. It's not, all these things that people tend to put on it. I do believe it comes back to the end user and the
Yeah.
person who is responsible for that message, because electricity will just respond.
Yeah.
It will just go, okay, this is the message I'm given. So this is why the power with social media, that's where, again, this was brought up, where if you have that balance, where you're taking the time to set apart individual time away from technology, away from social media, away from digital anything, to ground in. And believe me, because I am in this business, I have to do this regularly. It's a discipline. It's much like exercise and the food I eat, because if I don't do that, I get lost. It's like a new part of my brain is growing, because we are evolving as a species. Yeah, and it's, if you're not careful, everything in moderation, and everything that comes into our lives and into the world is always for good. I believe it always comes for a good reason. And then it's how we end up interpreting it or learning from it or failing. I mean, Sarah, you and I have talked about failure in the past, and how that's a wonderful way to discover yourself. So again, with the social media and taking that time away, this is that fine balance. And this is why I firmly do believe that if people become aware, the question I always ask is, ask yourself why. Every single time you post something, every single time you respond to something, every single time you go to those keyboards and you type a status update or you respond to something, why am I doing this? What is my intention? What is my motivation? And it's incredible how that one little question will stop if you allow yourself to stop and go, why am I doing this? And then you start questioning your motivations. It can be quite revealing and quite uncomfortable because then you will find out, I'm just doing this because I want to be right, or I'm really angry at that person, I want to lash out, or I'm just doing this because I want likes and engagements and I really feel alone and I want people, those are some pretty powerful things to come back at you. And
you'll see a trend, won't you? Somebody posts a comment and somebody makes a remark, and then somebody makes a remark on the mark, and then there's a remark on that remark, and the next thing you know, it's this long stream of something that's gone so far off topic, but it's just become a hate fest. Well, the thing is, leave it. Drop it. I actually take those posts and delete it. I don't want it anywhere near my page.
I was just going to say, that's like, I don't even see that stuff. Like, I know I got a team of people who work with me here to help me with this, but like all I see is positive, uplifting things. And if we don't, well, I love redirection. So that's a great redirector, even in conversation, which by the way, I think we should talk about too, is like getting outside of your house and going and talking to people live.
Oh, wow, a real human being. You're not virtual.
I actually, considering the work I do, it's so funny because that's one of the soapboxes I get on too. It's like, I'm in the digital world. I work in digital. I teach people how to do digital. But my trick is digital media is defined officially as any kind of marketing or interaction that happens online or with online devices.
Yes.
And then I take it one step further and I say, well, I think digital marketing, digital communication happens both online and offline. It's not only digital world is just a facet. It's an add-on tool. It's a support.
A connector.
Well, like Sarah, we've talked about say hi to a stranger in the past, and that movement that I created specifically to address that issue. It's like, yes, you're stuck on your phones, but where is that going? What relationships are you creating? Are you actually nurturing them? Are you starting them online and taking them offline? Are you meeting people offline and then taking it online so that you can further evolve your relationship? And again, I believe it's all about the energy you put into it. And if you're not open to negative energy, I found the same thing, that you don't end up seeing a lot of those negative posts.
Right,
I've researched the same and kind of tested the same in my end. And then when I was getting too wrapped up in them, I'd see a lot more of them. Now that I'm very conscious about what I'm putting out there and I'm very careful after all of my learning, I've noticed that shift, a very definite shift, because it's just no room.
It's like what you water will grow, right? So if you stop watering it, you're not going to have the weeds in the garden. You're picking them up and throwing them away. So,
exactly.
Or just redirecting people back to what they want. That's a great one too, Kare. I love this, how you're like, as I don't put my energy into it, I'm not throwing gasoline on the flame, and then you just say to people, so what is it that you really want? And you just literally loop them back to what it is that they really want. And then you'll see a whole long list of a posting of people gathering in on, this is what I want to create, or this was positive in my life, or da-da-da-da-da. It's contagious either way. Isn't that funny?
It is. And I think there's the wolf metaphor too. It's like there's a mean wolf and a good, I can't remember that one, but it's the one you feed is one that will grow and grow stronger.
Yes,
it's the
exactly.
same metaphor as the weeds idea. And that's exactly it. And the thing is, though, I had to go through a lot of my own personal growth to get to the point of being able to lead those conversations, to be able to get to the point of knowing this is what's happening. Again, having compassion for those who haven't quite got the awareness yet, who are busy being angry and volatile and pissed off. And then being able to come into those conversations sometimes, especially when they're my own led conversations or I'm inviting dialogue. And I had this happen just recently. I created a post and I was curious about how other leaders that I knew would respond to a certain thing that had happened in somebody's life. So I phrased the question and I got a lot of beautiful responses, like really thought-provoking, which is, to me, that's what a powerful use of social media is. Let's dialogue. You know, we're all in different parts of the world, but let's talk about this so we can learn from each other. And somebody came in and really brought it down into her own personal experience and started bashing somebody else. Yeah. And I basically I didn't respond to it. I just led her away from it and said, how about, you just said it too, how about we focus on what you want? Like, what is your desire here? What do you want to get out of this rather than bashing this person? What is your real why here? Why are you engaged in this? And that's, again, I cannot get away from it. The why is such a powerful way of stopping. One word.
And we've addressed whys a lot, haven't we, Christina? Because if you don't know why you're doing something, you know, then you're not riding into that wave. You know, when you step into, and the thing is, you don't have to understand your why in the definition of that human thing of like, you know, I've got to have a PhD on my why. It's just, you know, it's trusting. Why do you need to do this? Just because I feel a need to do it. Sometimes that's all you need, right? I had this need and desire to do it. My why will be revealed as to what it is meant to mean. But we get stuck in the why sometimes of needing to have a whole definition. But it's really that feeling, you know, why do you need to? I don't know. I just have to do it. And that why is good enough. You just follow that path. We've certainly talked about that, Christina, haven't we?
Yeah. Absolutely. And getting on the social media anyway is a phenomenal way to share consciousness. This is really cool, is we're getting into telepathy, the ability to really zing through the medium of the molecule very quick through these mediums and through social media. People feel the intention. People feel it. And now on Facebook, for example, the live streaming is actually becoming very potent. People feel your intention, they feel the why, and then they are locked in on this. So I find that the more that this escalates in a positive way, the more attention, energy, awareness that goes to these positive speakers or these people who have beautiful things to share, and there's connection that's real. I love too the idea, just the notion of taking that and going, as we say, offline with all of it, and connecting in ways that are meaningful, where you're actually holding someone's hand, you're hugging, there's an embrace, you know, or you're meeting up in a public venue and you're sitting very close together. Maybe you're drumming, you're a women's drumming group, or you're channeling together, or even just discussing, having a business meeting together. And then you're in the room breathing. You can feel the heartbeat of another human being. But it all started out through this social media connection. I think it's a great connector to lead you into other things, but that it's again going back to the balance, because we're pack animals. We're mammals. We must be with other mammals, and we're designed that way.
What I found very interesting is that, you know, I interview people from all over the world, and I've interviewed many a soul from London, you know, from England. And when I was over there last year, you know, so I've got something peculiar coming up here. No, I don't need you right now. Thank you. Don't mess with me, internet. I just let them know I'm coming over to England. I'd love to meet you in person. I'm going to be at this place at this time. Whoever can come turn up. And it was a Tuesday morning at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock, and 9 people took time out of their day to come and see me. And it wasn't the easiest location. I tried to pick one that was most central. The beautiful thing is that when I actually physically met them, I already knew them. And we actually don't realize how much we resonate with people vibrationally through this. We've already got each other's signature. We're already aligned and connected. So when you actually do meet yourselves in the flesh, it's not you're a stranger. Hi, it was nice to finally meet. You know each other. The embrace is there. The connection's being made. You're in that synergy. That vibration is there. It's wonderful. And we downplay this connection that we make through social media or through Skype or through Zoom or anything else. But that vibration, that frequency is already interlocked. And when you actually do get to meet each other physically, it's just candy or icing on the cake, so to speak. Yeah. But this interaction, do not downplay it at all in any way, because it's so powerful, so powerful. So again, what you bring to the table is what someone's going to receive. Make sure you're bringing you in your own authentic self, to the table.
Yeah, the authenticity is a powerful point. And I tend to use that word so much. I'm like, I should make up a new word. I'm getting tired of using that word.
I know. We need new words, don't we?
And then people stop listening, and it's like, oh God. But it's true. It's authenticity. It's being real you. I mean, I'm coaching women all the time. I get things like, well, I don't want to do a live and look unprofessional. And I'd be like, okay, so what do you do when you're in person with somebody? Are you stopping and going, cut, edit, hair? And it amazes me how
can we do that conversation again?
Yeah. No, forget it. No, stop. It's not happening that way. And it always makes me stop and pause. And then I do that little spiel for them. And I go, really think about this. This is how you'd be interacting with people one-on-one? You wouldn't. No. And the reason people are responding so magically to lives and, unedited, films and people talking authentically and real and making mistakes and fumbling over their words and having messy hair and their lipstick smeared up their face. Oh, whoops. They like that because it makes them human. It brings it back to that human to human. And again, the more you can get into that, the more people will feel like they know you. And that's where the power starts, because especially in business, if you're in business and you want to reach people and you want to bring that right demographic to you, you want to work with those particular people, they're not going to know who you are if you're all fake and shallow and poised and posed and vogue, the whole thing is not, that's that world, that's paradigm in business is shifting. We're shifting out of it. Yeah. Women are now coming into the forefront of business. So that whole relationship, communication, community is all growing. And this is where social media is such the powerful tool. And if we can have the bravery, because it really does take bravery. Every single woman I coach in this, it's scary. They're scared to death of actually being authentic and not looking like they don't know anything. And I think that's where the power again in the healing, because then I have to go, okay, well, this is a good thing. Social media is scaring you, and that's good, because we're going to step out of your comfort zone and we're going to learn why you're afraid of being yourself online. It's no different than meeting somebody day to day. No different whatsoever. Right. No difference. And maybe you're holding back every day. Maybe that's an interesting thing to talk about as well. So
that young lady right there, that beautiful young lady, is the reason we're doing videos and not just audio anymore. And I'm saying, I once did an interview and somebody said, why don't you do video? And I said, well, I have a face for radio. And they actually called the article that. She has a face for radio.
That's what it is.
And it's like, okay, you're trying to tell me something. And whenever I have been interviewed by video, I notice I'm extremely animated. And so it became very much of a conscious thing. And she goes, no, you've got to do video. We've got to move into video. Step out of your comfort zone.
Aren't you so happy?
Basically, I'm the comedian now.
I know. You feel so good now, don't you?
Yes, I've got into it now. Yeah, I'm the comic relief here. Does
Very good. I have to pause you all, because I don't know if you can see that sign up there. Depending on what level of Zoom you have, the meeting is going to cut off in about 5 minutes, because we have 3 people in the meeting. That's probably what that little notification was.
Okay. All right. So what do we do? Just come back in?
You can either come back in, or I can, because I can go unlimited with my Zoom. I can re-invite.
I can as well. But if you want to, I'm new to Zoom, but I've got the full package. So if you want to adjust or make it possible for us to continue on, then that would be great. Yeah, I see that up here as well.
Yeah.
So that's what that was. I didn't have my glasses on.
So that you're the host, then maybe Christina, maybe you can do it. Just send us a new link and we'll just all log in again, and we'll have 2 files though, Sarah. So I hope that's okay for you.
Yeah, well, just another learning curve of how to slice them together. So, and we're going to keep this in the air. It's just to show folks of what you do when you're in a situation.
We're being authentic.
Very good.
Don't sweat it, because in the past I would have got panicky. And
Yeah.
don't sweat it. It just readjusts. Okay, it's
Exactly.
the new link and off we go. So
And we go.
yes, I haven't signed fully into Zoom yet because we've only done 2 and 3 now, of course, is different. But just, we are doing video because of Christina. But just a quick thing before we get cut off is that my whole business paradigm now has changed. When you talked about us representing ourselves, I do these shows where people share their inner selves. Well, why are you not doing that for your business? So now I do a whole lot of videos and platforms for people who are sharing their story and their business, and they're using it as their marketing tool on their site. And it's not just advertising, come and buy, let me do this for you. This is my story. This is my why. This is my how and my what and how I can serve you. And it becomes more intimate and more invitational because people want to relate to you.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And so we have a whole new service package on this that we're doing here at Self Discovery Radio. So yes, there's a new direction here. People can buy anything anywhere, the flash, and dance. People want to know the real you. Do they connect with you? Can they trust you? Will you represent them? The only way they're going to do that is to hear your why, your story.
Yeah. People are investing in relationships, not stuff. So it doesn't matter what you sell, what your services are, well, even more so with services, but they want to know and they want to buy from the person. That's it.
Yes. And I think what we will do in this next phase, because maybe I'll cut off here and sign back in, is I think what we should do is look at is how do you promote yourself and your business? Because people don't want just blah, 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 blah all the time. They want an invitation. They want an interaction. Why should they, like you? Why should they interact with you?
Yeah.
They're sick and tired of something being thrown in their face. So how about we end this part and come back after this commercial and
Commercial break. Yes.
and we'll take it up.
Oh shit, we're still online.
Be sure to put your lipstick back on.
Okay, so folks, come on back. You'll be back in a second. We're going to take you
for now.
off into the next part. Cheers for the moment.
Are you sending the invitation, Christina?
I think that I will be sending you.
Okay.
Awesome.
That's going to be me.
Goodbye.
All right.
Okay, folks, we're back from our intermission. We all quickly had a quick facelift, and here we are in our new selves, which is what social media will always tell you they can do for you. Add this and add that, and we can take years off you, and we can do this for you, and we can do that for you. Folks, it's just a commercial. If you really want to be beautiful, it's got to come from the inside out. So when we're talking about using social media for your business, personally, I absolutely hate somebody just boom, 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 posting something out there. No invitation, no interaction. If you really want to know what's going on, give them a teaser. I am doing this. I have an offer of that. Ask me a question. Start inviting people to interact with you. They're going to be more engaged in what you're doing and what you're offering. We do not want to be bombarded. Like, you've got these pop-up commercials every time you're watching something. We hate it, folks. We're not interested. Be something interactive, and then we'll be more engaged with you. Cara, I'm sure that is something you have to teach people.
Yeah, and it's funny how you did the whole blah, 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 because it's funny. That's exactly how I illustrated as well, with as much animation as possible, because that's really what it feels like. It's like, in your face. Yeah, bye, bye. And that used to work because people were, oh, wow, this whole new TV thing. Whoa.
Yes.
But we're past that now. Now we are starting to filter through and discern the information that we digest and take in. We're becoming aware of what we want in our lives, what we don't want in our lives. And I think when we were taking the intermission, I was thinking about a common issue I find with coaching women in business particularly is they worry about how they're going to look. They worry about not having performance ability. They worry about not being able to know what to say. They worry about struggling over their words. And one of my biggest coaching tools is the reason you're worried is because you're trying to be somebody else.
Yes.
Flat out, that's all it is. So all we're going to do is work on you becoming stronger and more confident in who you are. Because when you trust yourself, like this conversation today, we all had a topic, but I can guarantee none of us actually sat down and wrote out a whole script, and this is what I can and can't say, and this is what I can. If I did that, I'd be frozen. I'd be like, I wouldn't know what to say. And I've been there.
You
It wouldn't be real. And I've been there because a lot of people say you can do interviews and you can go public speak because you've had all this performance experience. You've been an actor, you've been a musician. I'm like, actually, that work in my past is what terrified me because I was so ingrained into the performance mind of having a script and needing to do everything and my blocking and all that. And when it came to transitioning into business and having my real face out there, I was frozen because I was so used to having a mask or, you know, performing for some other reason. And I said, that you can't tell me that's the only reason I'm good on stage. In fact, it's one of my handicaps. What has made me capable of doing this is learning how to trust myself. Learning that when I'm talking about a topic that I am passionate about, I open my mouth and it all just comes out. And sometimes I'm surprised, like Sarah, I listened to our last radio conversation. I hadn't heard it in a while. It's been a while, like about 2 years, 3 years.
Yeah.
And I was listening to it. I'm like, oh my God, that's awesome.
Yes.
I said that.
Yeah. Well, people say to me, do you ask me questions? Do you give me a script? No, I said it's an organic conversation. You know, this is our parameter of our topic. But you just let it flow, let it go. And this is where you get the authenticity. You're getting us and like an all I want of a capsule. Yeah.
And that's the only barrier to that is trust. And like fear, the perfectionism. I always say that my thing is perfectionism is a pathology. It really is a problem. It's a disease. And when you want to be perfect, there's a lot of underlying issues that are creating that need. And the more you can strip those away and be okay with being a dork online or being who you are or being over animated, whatever story you've told yourself about why you can't be on TV or on video, it's eliminating those stories. And that's the only work there is to do because your authentic self is there, whether you want it to be or not. I mean, it's just there. You live, so it's there. And so
I guarantee you will get somebody. I mean, when I announced that I'm going to do video and it's like, you know, aren't you a bit old for that? Or, you know, don't you have this or don't you have that? And my answer to that was, if they get hung up on my looks, then they're not ready to receive the content.
Yeah.
So
that's not the why. Again, it's not the why.
What messenger?
we're you know, I mean, if somebody wants to tune into my radio show, Sarah, as you can tell them to look at me, well, all right, that's fine. I'm beautiful. Yeah. I mean, that's not your why. Your why isn't to go on radio or on video to show people how you look. That's not the whole purpose behind it. So they aren't getting the message then. They aren't
they're not ready for it.
Engaged in the conversation. And then that's not the person you are wanting to attract anyway.
No.
So
you know, we've definitely talked about that. When Christina and I, we did having 6 shows together. We thought, well, why aren't we doing a show together? You know, because I'd interviewed her about 6 times, and then it's, you know, and clearly when we talked about video, and I said, yes, as long as the camera's on you all the time, you know, and again, she had to nudge me into this out of my comfort zone of just being behind the radio, the voice.
Whenever you're ready it's like whenever you're ready, whenever Sarah's self, like not the ego mask, but whenever the true self is ready to let go of those comments, then it will. And you break away and you break free.
Here we are.
And here we are. Doesn't it feel so free to just freaking be who you are? Like really authentic, no holds bar. It's sticking your neck out there completely awesome. And you can be a dork, and then you can make mistakes. And, you know, both of you brought up so many key points, like being firmly rooted as a visceral experience with yourself online as you are in person, or if you're not in person and online, if you can't find that authentic self, this is a great time to explore why you're there, perhaps what's holding you back, those fears. The fear that comes up is like enough to shake us, don't you find?
Yeah.
You can, you know, really tremble with that. But as I guarantee you this, though, as we look at these fear movements or any of this kind of need to identify, wear the mask, put up a front, whatever you want to call that, as we just, your awareness is all that's needed in that moment. You just become aware of it. And I guarantee you it dissolves. It dissolves either quickly or over time, but it dies right there because you've kind of called yourself out.
Yes.
Your light of awareness kind of comes right out on it, and it's amazing how those things could be shattered really quickly, or through the process of just doing it again and again. So it's mindful. Again, there we go with the consciousness. But Carré, I just have to say, you're channeling. I didn't even hear your last show that you did 2 years ago, but I can see it with sight, and when I get impressions, they come really rapid firing at me, and I can see you there, like opening up and just having things fly out of you and feeling really good. And then hearing it later, and you're like, "Wow, who said that? Did I say that?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that was great."
Yeah.
So we surprise ourselves, don't we? Because we're constantly selling ourselves short.
Yeah.
And why? Back to the big question, why? Why are we doing what we're doing? It's because we are so passionate and inspired by something, we want to share it. But why are we putting obstacles in our way? It's because society has dictated that the only way we can present something is if we fit into this perfect package. Well, who dictated that package? Because it sure wasn't me.
Yeah. Well, and beyond that, I used to tell myself that, and I would get angry and who's created this box that I'm in? And then I realized the quickest way out of it was to actually own it. Now, they taught you a lot of this in theater school, and I didn't quite get it. I was too young at the time. But one of the things I do coach as well when it comes to video or presentation or public speaking is if you're feeling fear, don't step on it and squish it down. Acknowledge it. And I've done this so many times. I have to give you an example where I was doing an interview for Say Hi to a Stranger. I was at Global BC. I was doing on TV. And usually I'm used to interviews person to person, right? They have me in a studio. I'm talking to somebody. They sat me in a freaking chair that it was too, my legs were dangling. It moved like this. And every time it moved, the chair squeaked. So it was like, so you can see how animated I am, right? So they're like, okay, you need to sit there and don't move. Okay. And then they put this earpiece in me. And then they said, okay, look at the camera and you're going to hear your interviewer's voice in your ear. Huh? And of course I had to in a split second go, oh crap, I'm going to have to do an interview without talking to a person. And of course at the time I was just, I froze. I'm like, I can't do this, but everything, lights, camera, action. I just, okay, I got to do this trust thing. And I just admitted right online. I said, this is so weird. I don't know how to do this because I'm talking. But the minute I did that, poof, poof, as you said, Christina, they just all evaporated because now I was just being honest about where I was at. Yes. Most people, when you tell them exactly how you feel, whether it's fear, shame, froze, whatever it is, they will go, oh my God, that's so, I totally get it. And then
I feel like that too. Yeah.
Because the minute, when you try to avoid it or act like you're perfect or try not to be completely goobered and messed up in that moment, people sense that energy and then they go, and then they feel for you because they know how it feels. And then everything closes down and then you feel that and you think they're judging you. And it's the biggest trick I've learned for myself is if I'm feeling freaked out. So yeah, everybody, I'm feeling a bit freaked out right now. And if I say that, then I've owned it. And then after that, it always seems to go quite smoothly because it just eliminates that.
Right. Yes. But it's not taking the breath, isn't it, Christina? Like before you, I interviewed 1,000 people, no comfort, I'm here, obviously when I first started, it was something completely new and, the learning curve. And now, of course, doing video, that's been another learning curve. But when I have to actually stand up and speak to people, I go into a sweat. And I thought, I could talk to people from all over the world without any problem. Why do I have this issue of actually physically standing in front of people? And, one of the things I have to do before I do anything like that is take that breath. Yeah. And it's like, why am I allowing myself to get like this? And it's still something I'm having to work through. And the more I do it, the more it will work through. Exactly. But it's like, why? Why do we get ourselves into a tizzy of this? Is it that we're so afraid of the judgment?
Being seen?
Yeah.
Real. Yeah. Isn't there a kid in there who's like, I don't want to be seen?
Yeah. Yes.
A little bit. Yes. Just for me anyway. I speak from my experience.
Let's hide behind the rock, shall we? Or under our mother's skirt. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
There's also an interesting question. I'm going to pose it to the two of you because this came into my world recently and it just, a whole bunch of lights went ding, ding, ding. Oh, that makes so much sense. I don't know if either of you know Brene Brown, but she's a researcher. She writes books. She talks about the human experience, vulnerability, humility, all that stuff, which we are actually talking about. Yeah. And there was one question she asked herself at one point. Do you believe that people are fundamentally doing their best?
Ooh.
Now, how would you answer that?
Absolutely, yes. Yes.
And Sarah, how would you answer?
The consciousness that they have. Sorry to interrupt. With the consciousness that one possesses in the moment, yes, I do believe that. Yes.
What do you feel?
And I would say that when people allow themselves to be themselves, they'll be the best of themselves.
And you know, what's fascinating to me is that when I really dug into, especially with my own judgments in people, like it's hard to even acknowledge we're judging other people. And I'm far too, I could never say I'm so spiritually aligned that I don't judge other people. I'm in the city every day. I have to drive with people in Vancouver. I get judgmental. The thing about what her question posed is that most people, there are two answers. They're either what you two answered, or it's what people will say, no, absolutely not. They do not do their best, and I wish they'd do better. Those people tend to be the perfectionists themselves. They tend to be the ones that are very hard on themselves. And it's always that, what I've learned, you know, through times, it always comes back. It always comes back to how you're feeling about yourself. How do you feel about yourself? And everybody out there is just that mirror, just that reflection of who you are and how you see who you are.
Exactly.
And it's and this is why social media can be, because it really, it shows you how you're feeling about yourself. And that can terrify a lot of people. And it's, you know, the fear of being seen, those levels of where that goes to, it's like, because I just don't believe that I'm doing my best, you know, which is what I don't believe about anybody else, which is why I'm out there, you know, trolling everybody else and saying you're assholes. Those poor trolls, can you imagine the inner pain they're feeling?
Yes.
Like, really?
Yes.
I think when you share your vulnerability, I mean, I have done. I mean, I think my mom had passed when we did the show, Cara, and I was saying to you how, you know, my mom was really, really sick. It was really the end of her days, and she, you know, she wanted to pass over, but she just was unable to do so. And I went on Facebook and I said, my mom needs the angels. She needs the angels to help her cross over. It's just that act of dying that she couldn't do and she needed to do because she was ready to go. And I had over 100 people, not just likes or this or that, actually send out angel blessings or love or this or that. My mom passed over beautifully within 24 hours. Now, you know, that beautiful intent and vibration that people sent, that love, enabled her for that to open up and be able to ascend, right? We forget how beautiful and impactful it can be when you're willing to ask for something. I've gone on Facebook on days of saying, I'm having a bad day or I'm in a depressive period, I need some love. And the amount of support that I get, people aren't looking for you to be perfect. They actually love you when you're vulnerable and willing to admit, I'm in need, because it's an invitation for them to share what they have and help you, because quintessentially as human beings, we want to help one another.
Yeah, that is power. I've even in my own experience, I've played with that too. And just, I've noticed the stronger I've gotten in sharing my own vulnerability, the stronger social media has become for me. And the more I've learned about how, you know, one of my gifts is in writing. So I kind of have a little more confidence when it comes to sharing things online, and I'll take people through a story or some healing. But I look back, it's an interesting thing you should maybe even try doing, is look back to when Facebook first started or you first logged in and look at some of your status updates. And if you can just see your evolution and how, even just in using that tool and that platform, you know, now I share some pretty epic, you know, inner learning online. And as you mentioned, Sarah, because when my father passed away, I did the same thing. And the power that came at me was just like, holy
I know.
Impactful. I could never get that anywhere else, because there's no way I could get out there, you know, while I'm grieving and talk to that many people face to face. And again, this is where I find where I like to illustrate the power of social media and where that line is drawn. Like, this is what you can get. This is the support, the community, most importantly, that you gather around you at times of need. And that's where you have to let go of all your perfectionism, all of the, I need to look a certain way. And, you know, the why is pretty clear then. The why is I need support.
I mean, you know, Christine, and we have to talk about in shows, is if you're wanting to receive love, you must be the love. And, you know, it's not the love keeping it to yourself or only giving it to a selected few. You know, we talk about abundance. And when your inner abundance is there, that love of life and who you are and purpose and everything else, your cup runneth over. Well, let it run over on the social media. Share that love and that abundance, because there's somebody out there that day that's having a bad day, that's in need, that's going to pick that up. And it's going to be that inspiration for them, that little lifeline or that redirection for them. And it's, you know, it's not for us to keep together. It's for us to expand out. So be as much as you can be and let it go. Let it loose out there in the social media with the people around you, but just spend it, because the world needs it. We need it. We need one another.
Absolutely. We do.
I often get a question on that one too, which is, it's good you brought that up, because I get people who are naturally, say extroverts, who are naturally, they want to just get out there, and every day they're doing a Facebook Live, and every day they're doing stuff, and it's just, they're driven to do it. And they come to me saying, I have these people telling me that I shouldn't be going online so much, that I should stop doing all these videos. And what do you think? Like, well, if it's what you want to do, this is, it doesn't really matter.
If you've got a response or an audience and people are interacting with you, there's clearly somebody who wants it, right?
Again, if your why is clear, which it appears to be, it's the person who's questioning you, their why isn't clear. They don't know why, or they're judging you because they don't have the same confidence to get out there and be online. And that really does happen quite a bit. I think that's where a lot of the cyberbullying or the negativity happens, where if people start attacking those people who are out there living their passion, doing what they want to do, you know, saying what they want to say. Like, I've even seen situations where people have come on and say, you shouldn't say that on Facebook, or you this, that, and the other thing. And it's, you're on their personal profile. So this is their radio show, essentially. This is their platform. And you're going to go on there and tell them what they can and can't say. And this is, again, it's that you can own, you can become really confident, but then you're going to have to learn that next level on how to deal with those negative people, how to deal with the bullies, how to deal with the trolls, we like to call them, because you know, they live under bridges, and they come out and they just whack you over the head, and then they run away, because that's what makes them feel powerful. And that's a big part of learning how to also be online, not just how to express yourself and how to be authentic, but how to not let that bring you down, because it can be pretty hard.
Don't take it personally, right? You know, it's their issue.
Touching on detachment, even as we were even talking about this again, going back to, we're all energy fields bouncing around. You know, our energy is expansive, never ending, and you know, the eternity symbol, you know, moving throughout all of our cells. And we're not the computer, you know, we're not the comments of other people. Returning to our own eternal being every single day through our meditation, or whether it's channeling or meditation, but your spiritual core practice, these rituals are so deeply rooted in yourself that when you are interacting on social media and you are on the receiving end of whatever, that there's a detachment practice that can happen. And the knowing that this is not, even if it's wonderful feedback, that's another thing too, is when you're on the receiving end of a lot of media, it's positive praise, and I love you, and oh my gosh, you saved my dog, and oh, you know, and then notice how the ego can expand or contract in these, you know, because you're moving throughout these things where people like you a lot, love you, or they hate you. And it's like, no matter what. So I think it was Wayne Dyer who pointed out in one of his books, he's like, you know, everybody's going to have an opinion about you, and that has to do with them, and it has nothing to do with you. So that opinion is subject to change. Your reputation will change. What people are going to do with you and all that stuff, that has to do with them. I love that, that sense of freedom, really, to be detached from whatever it is that's going on. And then to bring, as Sarah said, to bring your light. You just let yourself, true self, shine through authentically, offer your goodies, and then whoever takes, then that's great. And then whoever, you know, then that's fine too. And and then shut the laptop and then go outside and go on with the rest of your life, you know? It's like,
And you know, you're talking about sharing your light. You know, for some people it's going to be too bright, and they're going to complain it's too bright. Okay, again, you know, I go back to Don Rue's 4 agreements. You know, speaking word with integrity. You know, post your postings with integrity. You know, don't assume, ask, understand why that has been said. Don't take things personally. If somebody's attacking you, it's coming from their own discontent. You don't have to take it on. And simply doing your best is measured by you. Your best. You can ask yourself, did I do my best today? And that's the only person that needs to judge that. And those beautiful 4 agreements, if we kind of kept those in our lives, we wouldn't get ourselves in a tizzy or so reactionary or take things so personally, because we do take attacks personally. But very often those attacks aren't even personal attacks of you. They're a reflection of somebody's inner discontent. They're just imposing it on you.
Yeah, exactly. And it's the learning, internal learning, because I can even say myself, just as you both have been talking, I've been remembering my own journey through You know, I've been kicked off of so-called women empowerment groups. Like,
I
me
just
laugh.
cannot imagine that.
And that's just it. And I can still sit here and judge it because it was ridiculous. It really was. But at the same point, it's like, it taught me a lot about, because I jumped to defend myself. I'm like, how are these people seeing me as, they called me a bully? And it's like, you know, and I was, I couldn't compute. So I wanted to get in there and this is, it's easy to say detach, but really when you are being authentic, part of the learning is in learning it. Like, there's not going to be one day you're going to be taking it personally, the next day you're not.
Right.
Allowing yourself that process of going through it, responding and getting angry and you know, and then feeling bad about it and shouldn't have gotten engaged. Oh Christ. You know, all that process is important. It is, especially when it comes to learning your own capacity for understanding yourself. And I really have to question my insecurity here, because I was really upset by that comment that person said to me when she told me that I was a bully and that, you know, I wasn't welcome in a woman empowerment group on Facebook. You know, that hit me hard. And it's not, you know, to just say, well, I'm just going to attack. You know, it's easy to say that, but the reality was I had to go through some pretty deep soul searching after that, you know, grab support from other women, mentors, and work through it. And I felt like I didn't know what I was doing. I fell apart. I felt like I was a stupid idiot. I thought, well, maybe they're right. Like, I thought a lot of things.
Second guessing.
Yeah. And I had to go through that journey, because if I hadn't gone through that, I wouldn't be able to look back now with people who say things to me and have the compassion for them, knowing, you know, having learned how I reacted and how I had to work through my stuff and why I was being mad and angry online and why I was behaving that way. Now I understand why people do that. I understand it from that visceral, experiential level. It's one thing to say to somebody, you know, don't do it, but it's another thing to experience it yourself, go through the learning and come out the other side, because now I have that full awareness. I often say, you know, I know a lot here.
Yes.
But to sink down to here is that's the work. I like to say that intelligence can be a handicap, because I believe it can be, because you know so much and you can carry so much here. It's like, I know all that. But then I'm not behaving the way I want to be behaving. And then that shame comes in. It's like, how come I can't do what I think I should be doing? And it's because it really does have to sink in. And I believe that's where, when we have compassion for ourselves to fail and screw up and make that stupid comment on Facebook and then,
and go through the process. Well, and I agree with you completely. That's so bold, really, honestly, brave and bold to really candidly look at the material, look at the content, and take the journey with. And so by detachment, I certainly didn't mean just to say, well, you know, I just amputate this from my psyche. But rather, as you say, you know, you go through those motions, you feel the waves. I mean, the waves are going to come up, you know, and like what you just shared is just very courageous and bold, is just to speak out loud, just say, wow, this really impacted me. I felt ostracized. I felt insulted and hurt, deeply hurt. And then seeking out support and going through those waves, but all the while very conscious of, you know, the mind body, the connection, like you were saying, in the head, because that's a lot of head movement right there. And then connecting to heart space, because like, you know, we must take these journeys in order to come out on the other side and then kind of get more, I think, more under our belt, you might say, so that detachment can be a little bit more fluid and a little bit more like, I'm looking out for number one, you know, and, you know, so it's like, there is, for me, personally though, also I'm new to Facebook and new to social media only because is like Athela has always brought us to these places or with people that we need to meet or our live events. And so online media and online marketing things wasn't something that I'd done a lot of. But as soon as we got on the scene, there was a lot of persecution and a lot of things about, you know, devilry and witchcraft and all these things and being possessed. And so, I mean, you got all that fire coming at you. It's like, I think it's important. We could do a show on this even about putting up our shielding, our psychic shield, so that we are looking out for number one and that we are, yes, we're being mindful of what's coming at us and we see it, but that we're not putting it inside the cells of our body, right? We don't carry it with us, but that we seek out help. I think it's phenomenal, Kare, what you talk about seeking out mentors, getting the support that you need is not negating, you're not burying your head in the sand or shaming yourself to the point where you don't reach out. So all of these
You're
things,
not a failure. A lot of people won't reach out because they feel, oh, I'm embarrassed. I feel a failure. I shouldn't have done that by reaching out and saying something. And, Christine has been through a journey from me where I've been on a roller coaster when things have happened. And it's like, it's that support. It's like, it's okay, we're going to get through this, and you need that, that camaraderie. That's what it's all about.
Yes.
But, you talked about being in the head. I'm constantly saying to people, feel your knowledge. Don't think it. It's got to have we don't run on one cylinder car. There's 4 or 5 in there, and you have to be soul, heart, spirit to mind, and, the body. And if we're not interacting on all of those cylinders, we're not getting all the information.
Yeah.
And then the head is left to just go on this trip. Yes, but what if, but if that, and what that, with that. The answers aren't just in the head.
And then you add some
soul in the heart.
caffeine to that. You drink
Yes.
Oh yeah, caffeine. Don't even talk to me when I'm on caffeine. You don't even understand. I'm like talking at Mach 10. Well, Christina, just to also just acknowledge what you said. Detachment, I totally get. That's why what I was aiming to do there, because I've been through the work and I understand when you say detachment, I get it instantly. But I remember a time when you used to tell me that, and I'd be like,
how
do you detach from these feelings?
do I do that?
How do I detach from that?
And then if I don't know how,
and
then if I don't know what I'm doing, well, I must suck at it because all these people are talking about it, and I can't freaking do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, forget it. I'm not going to, and that shame level, because
shame and blame.
I'm also on the podium, the platform. I talk a lot about shame because I think Serenitis was the topic of our last discovery session, was the shame and what stops us and what keeps us in abusive situations, or how shame is such a huge burden to wear on our shoulders. So when I do that, it's simply just to throw my vulnerability into the circle, to communicate to those who might not be there yet that you don't have to be understanding what detachment means. You don't have to know that word and know exactly what to do, because I didn't.
Right.
And I'm okay when I was saying that I was totally clueless, because to me, I'm like, I'm intelligent. I'm really smart. How come I didn't know that?
Right. Exactly.
But
everything is a process, right? Everything is a process. Now it's easier for you to detach because you know the tools and the skills and you don't take it so personally. But initially, especially as Christina, you've stepped into this world, and, I've always said that I'm a spiritual being having a human life. And it's been very difficult for me as a spiritual being because I've been persecuted and ostracized a great deal from my life. I'm most certainly misunderstood. I'm talking a different language, so nobody could connect. So it was a very lonely life. But I went through the whole questioning feeling, and am I failing myself? Am I failing my message? Am I failing this? And it's because we as human beings love to go, you failed. You failed. And it's like, and it's, no, I'm learning. Learning,
Yeah. It's like the ego. I mean, you guys have both perfectly highlighted. These are the hallmarks, right, of how it brings us to our knees. These dialogues with ego, they'll bring you to your knees and make you cry and just scream and beg for freedom. Because really, it's like the shame. Oh my God, and people just living under that thumb of shame.
Yep.
And to no end. And then the inner dialogue, though, it'll just take you down to your knees if it's left unchecked. So the detachment thing, I totally agree with you. I for a long time thought that you would have to, live in a like some of my teachers live in a monastery, because I worked with some mentors that just completely away from modern day living, and this is their path. And I thought to myself, in order to get to that place where I'm going to be well, where I'm going to accept myself, where I'm going to be able to forgive and learn how to detach from situations or comments or from my own ego, that I'm going to have to go and put myself out there for years and be meditating on a mountainside. And I'm going to have this big superhuman feat or something like that happen to me. Yeah. So I agree with you completely. We all start.
Saw big feet. I saw like hobbit feet. I'm sorry.
Hobbit feet. Yeah.
Oh, that's what I have to do. Hobbit feet. God damn it. You see, that totally is the absurdity of how people perceive things. I mean, it's everything you say is going to be perceived through the filter of what.
Yes.
So I just admitted some absurdity in my own mind. So there you go.
That is so freaking funny. I love this. This is like the
These are the
comedy
Hobbit
of the
feet.
hour. I could see that completely.
I could just see Christina as a little monk with big
Well,
feet
she just
now.
said that. I'm like, cool. Yeah, hobbits are really cool.
Yes,
That's
exactly.
right. That's right. Tiny little hobbits. Yes.
But you've hit on something there, though, Christina, where people think that if you are of divine presence, if you are of purity, that you have to be abstained from living with humanity and, you know, come from. I'd actually interviewed a monk who had lived most of his life in a monastery, and as the conversation went, and he said, you know, one of the things I realized is I'm actually understanding the difficulty that people have with embracing this path, because he said, I haven't lived in the real world. I only know this purity, but people who are living in the real world are living with contamination. How do they let the purity in when there's so much garbage in there that they've been living with?
They go
And
to
he's
retreats. No, I'm just kidding.
they go to retreats like yours, exactly. And that's the thing, you've got to step outside of your daily living in order to find a connection. But if you're talking to somebody that's caught up in a daily living on a treadmill and on a you know, it's like, how do you get in there just to part the, you know, to detach them from that life for a moment, to say, breathe, come with me, let's just go and find a little peace and sanctuary, so you can learn to open up and receive and channel all this beautiful wisdom. But if they're caught up, and we know with social media how many people have become a slave to that. You know, it's addictive, and they're on it all the time, on their phones, on every other apparatus, and it's like, but I've got to post this, I've got to post this. It's like, take a breath, remove yourself from it. Yes, a fanaticism that has come out of it.
Ooh, that's a good word. That's a new one. I'm gonna write that down.
That's the dark parallel, the dark side, you know, like Star Wars, the light side,
the dark side. Yes,
because I'm always having to address this, you know, because there's people who just think social media is evil, and you know, based on some things that are out there, I can understand why they see that. But as in life, dark and light exists. It's the balance. It's the fine balance.
It's the balance, and we do need it.
The darkness is real. I've seen it. I've even been in it. I've experienced it. And that trick again is, how do you detach? How do you get away from, you know, that pull? Because the beauty of the dark side is always that it's so hedonistic. It's so, you know, you feel something so great, and it just becomes like ego food, and it just, it's like eating a donut or something, and you know it's bad, but and that's why social media is such, there's a lot of people who are terrified by it with kids growing up, but my kids, I've even noticed that when I stop saying it's bad, when I just surrender to the fact that this is their life, unlike me who had to transition into it, they've had it their entire life, they seem to know the balance intuitively. They tend to be able to disconnect. And like my daughter, especially the youngest one, she's on it all the freaking time. It freaks me out. Like I go in there and she's like, I'm like, come on, you got to get off that thing. She's like, I know, Mom, I will. And then I go into her room and she's busy, you know, painting these beautiful paintings one day, and she's been in there for 5 hours obsessing over that. Yet I don't notice that she's not been on her phone. I just focus on the time she's on her phone and say, it's bad, it's bad, it's bad. And she already knows that you cannot have both of them existing, because once you do get sucked into the dark side, that's when all those insecurities happen. That's when social media can be addictive, like, you know, good food.
I mean, the common denominator that we're talking about here with everything in life is remember to breathe. Take those deep breaths. It aligns your whole chakras up, everything up. It allows that knowingness, that channeling to come through. And the other thing is, seek the balance. At any time you're thrown into that extremity or that extremity, anxiousness is going to come up. Anxiousness leads to insecurity, it leads to self-judgment, it leads to blame, it leads to everything else. And so really, it doesn't matter what we do in life. I'm obviously a lot on social media. I met you through that, Cara, because you wrote an article that I was so impressed with. I reached out to you on that. And Christine, I can't even remember how we met, but we met in some obscure way. Because when I'm inspired by somebody, by something they've done, I want to know more. I want to share your story. I want to know who you are. And so it is a beautiful platform of connecting and of inspiration and of illumination.
Yes.
Absolutely wonderful. But it goes back to, what do we feed? I see the negatives up there. I sign all those petitions against animal abuse and everything else. I'm very interactive in that. I will speak out against the wrongdoings, but not with blame, but with accountability. Right? Because if you're busy filming somebody being beaten up and posting it, you're just as much as the abuser as the person being abused. Did you call the police? Did you try and stop it? Did you do anything else? You just caught a video and you sensationally posted it up there.
It's going to go viral.
Accountability. Yeah, exactly. Accountability, bringing our consciousness into it. Is this what I should be doing? You know, could I be doing something else? Am I really helping someone? Am I doing this for the right reason? And you said it right at the beginning there, your why. Take a breath, ask your why before you go and do something. Because once it's out there in cyberspace, there's no bringing it back.
Right. No. And to remember who we are truly, our beingness, you know, that we're all energy, light beings, is not fluffery. It's true. And we didn't come from computers, so we're souls.
Right. Yes.
We're
flesh and blood.
Yeah, we're living energy fields that, you know, dancing for itself and colliding, vibration and vibrating at these different fields. So we're not the electronics themselves, and we do need to remind ourselves of that and be every day. Being away from the electronics will help to like reinforce
the balance. Yeah.
Yes, so that we can remember, so we don't get lost. Yeah,
and it's not going out into nature while you're on texting.
Yeah,
you know,
it's try it. You know, to see how addictive you could do a self-test, right? To see how much you're in that is to put your phone down, put your device down, and then walk away from it and feel if there's any anxiety coming into your energy field. Feel that. You know, very much like when you stop drinking coffee suddenly, you're going to feel those responses. And then just notice that as time goes on, you know, have that time where you put your phone down, you walk out into nature. You'll come to love that, actually. You'll feel that come into your body, your mind body. Oh, I need to, like doing your yoga class or other things, I need to add this to my self-care because it feels so good. It feels natural. Yeah.
It's like, you know, when we're eating food, isn't it? We love different ingredients in there and the flavors dancing together and, you know, the balance of everything. And if we're just stuck on meat and potatoes all the time, we're not very good for our whole body system, right? So it's like anytime we become too obsessive over anything, too fanatical over anything, you know, then we're off balance. And so, as you said, can we put the phone down and go, I'm switching it off. My computer, 4 or 5 o'clock is down. That's it. Well, it's part of. I'll check the email for the next day to make sure nothing's changed. But work is done. And I think I see people that I know that are on social media, and I'm getting things at 7 in the morning, and they're still doing something at midnight. And it's like, do you have a life outside of this, or has this become your life? And if it has, that's a time for you to have a personal check.
Yeah, in fact, this was mentioned, we could probably do a whole other topic on just addiction. It is just magnifying the human experience. It's really all it does, because the dealing with addiction to drugs, to alcohol, to food, to all the variety of things we can get addicted to and all the reasons behind it, social media is just another aspect of that.
Yes.
Why start to identify your relationship with social media, and if it's actually positive, or if it's leaning a little bit towards the dark side, and whether you need to do some work.
Yes.
And bring that balance.
But we've also got to understand, and not to say, oh, hang on, you know, you've been posting too much, Mr. President. We think that you should stop the tweeting. You know, what's he tweeting now? Sensationalism. More people are going to be tuning into it. So they're not there to help us find our balance. That is purely our responsibility.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it is all an individual responsibility. How you manage what you take in, how you manage what you put out and how you manage how much it monopolizes or takes over your life. I mean, I can say this with confidence because it's my business. So it's probably the hardest person to get in touch with online. You know, people even said that. How come I? Well, because I'm not going to be there all the time. Are you kidding me? I'm insane. Weekends don't even try. You know, like I actually, Sarah, you and I just had that interaction. I think sent me an email of the weekend. I'm like, sorry, I wasn't anywhere near my phone. I just kind of put it away. And
that's very good. I really commend you for that. That's outstanding. I think it needs to be more like that, and we have to. It's a discipline, isn't it, to do that? It's like, okay, now it's time for
huge. Yeah. Also with the fear, the people pleasers.
Other things in life. Life itself.
Yes, itself. Yeah.
Very true.
Definitely.
Yes.
So
thank you.
I would say to, you know, electronics are saying, okay, we're done. Christine is coming in and out.
Okay.
I'm fading in and out, and I can sense that. Oh, let's see here. We're fading in and out, and I can sense that is our time for today.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm getting that too.
Ah, very good. So, well, it's it's in and out.
Said a lot. We've covered a lot of great information.
We've saturated everything right now, so it's time. Yeah.
We have, yes.
Time.
Thank you, ladies, so
more
much.
Plastic surgery, folks. So.
Yes.
Yeah.
What a joy. What a joy.
Yeah, Christina's bandwidth is slow. So, Cara, would you please let you, and then Christine, if you let everybody know how they can get hold of you.
Yeah.
Cara?
Of course.
Yeah, now that I've said that I'm very hard to get a hold of on social media, I'm not. Website, www.aqconsulting.com or AQ Consulting, or you can even use my name, Kari Long. If you just type it into Google, you will find all ways to get in touch with me. I'm all
Double A on the Cara, folks.
Double A on the Kari. Yes.
That's right.
Yes. And again, if you reach out to me, it may take some time, but I will always reply. It's just a matter of, you know, I might be out with my kids having some ice cream.
I love it.
Yeah, having some real lifetime. Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
Something for you to share on social media afterwards.
Yes, I don't do that anymore either. I don't even bother doing that anymore. It's like, geez, I hope people, you know, believe that I do this for a living, because I'm just so not on it anymore.
And Christina, let everybody know how they can get hold of you.
Look at lovely
still
picture
have
of
you?
she frozen.
Oh, do you have me? Can you guys
know
hear
how they
me?
get hold of you?
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, now we can hear you.
Oh, beautiful. It's coming in. So while I'm tuned in, then thank you both of you so much. High energy today. This has been explosive and delightful, delicious. And I look forward to these explorations. So you can get a hold of me at athella.org. That's ATHELLA.org. And come to a retreat, because here we don't have electronics. And it's a really cool thing. You can spend some time away from all of it. Literally get unplugged completely. Go inside and learn all about yourself, heal, manifest, so that when you do go back to the electronics, you have this kind of cool balance that you keep for yourself. And it's all healthy, delightful, wonderful journey. So that's how you guys can reach me, is athella.org. And we have, of course, social media and other things there, or through Self-Discovery Radio with Sarah. We've had many shows together, and we'd love to invite you to listen.
Channeling Ascensions.
Yes, Channeling Ascensions it is.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, and plenty of shows. We're now on YouTube, even the audios, they're
Very
up there. And so you can hear us on SoundCloud, Google Play, and YouTube now, as this is a new platform. And we invite you to share the shows, because other people are going to get benefit for it, and then form a conversation. You know, it might even be a good thing to have a conversation with your family of just how much you are posting. Is what you're posting meaningful? Is it going to serve other people, or is it just, you know, sensationalism, titillation, or whatever? You know, is that be conscious of what you're doing, because every time you are posting something, you are posting a bit of you. And how do you want to come across, and what you're saying and what you're doing, is it going to have a positive or a negative effect on the people that are going to receive it? So mindfulness, soulfulness, heartfulness, and spiritfulness is very much important in any form of social media. And that goes for your business as well. And if you need help with your business and your social media, reach out to Cara Long, because certainly knowing those parameters and knowing how to do it that it has the best effect and that is interactive and invitational is the platform that we're working on now. We don't need any more flash, flash, flash. We're saturated with that. We want to know you're speaking to us, you have something we need, and you're ready to meet with us heart to heart. And that is really where the social media is, and that invitation today, and Kara knows how to do that. So thank you, ladies. So selfdiscoveryradio.com, Channeling Ascensions. And we'll probably certainly have Kara back on again. We've got a lot more talk to do there.
We'd love it, yes.
And
Yay!
and hopefully the internet is with us. May the internet forces be with us. So
oh, that's great.
And there's so much more to talk about. So everybody, we hope you've enjoyed this time with us. Lot to learn here, lot for you to think about and be mindful of. And there's going to be another great show next week. So we look forward to you tuning in to Channel and Ascension. So everybody, love and peace to everyone. Bye for now.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.